I love it. I love it. I love it. Look at this. This is the greatest thing I've ever seen.
Hey, I'm not surprised.
Hey, what's poppin', my homies? Hope you're doing well, feeling blessed, having a good day, having a good week. This one's going to be Max Holloway taking on Dustin Poirier, a massive pay-per-view. And by the way, a good pay-per-view. This is a good card, man. I've seen some people say some bad things about this card, but I like this card. This is a good card. Before we speak about the fights, we check my bets from last weekend. And my bets last weekend, they weren't the best. They weren't the best. We had 6 bets, and I won half of them. Hamza Shiraz in boxing, that was a good one. Kennedy in the UFC, that was a bad one. Morgan and Bonfim, Serrano in the boxing, that was a bad one. Morat and Curtis, a parlay in the UFC, that was a good one. Taliesin, that was a bad one. But if I'm being completely honest, I think I was lucky to win Bonfim and Cherrier because Bonfim didn't win. Wonderboy won that fight. However, the robbery I got on Gabriel Bonfim kinda makes up for the BS stoppage in the main event. And I know there's a lot of people that say that stoppage was okay, but I don't think so. So I lost just under a unit last weekend on the bets, but I think we can get over a unit, maybe 2 units or even more on this pay-per-view card. So check the pinned comment below for my bets. All of my bets are going to be free on this pay-per-view. Now looking at some Money City comments. If you see your name on the screen, you already know what that means. That's money. The man them getting to the paper. You love to see it. Let's go. First matchup on the card, we've got Carli Judice taking on Nicolle Caliari. And in my opinion, guys, this one's an easy matchup to predict. If the fight stays on the feet, the kickboxing of Carli Judice, it's going to show. Carli Judice is going to dominate this fight on the feet. But if the fight goes to the ground, that's where Caliari dominates, potentially finds a submission win. It's really as simple as that. This one ain't rocket science. If it stays on the feet, it's all Carli Judice. If it goes to the ground, it's all Caliari. So my first prediction is going to be Carli Judice. She got a beautiful head kick stoppage in her last fight, but can she avoid the ground? If she stays away from the ground, she's going to dominate this fight. So I'm going to take crispy Carli Judice to get it done on the feet. Next matchup, we've got Bruno Ferreira, the Brazilian Hulk, taking on Jackson McVey. Now, I don't know too much about Jackson McVey, but I do know all of his 6 wins are first round stoppages. He's 6'4" with a 77-inch reach. And he looks pretty dangerous from what I've seen. He hunts for submissions. He does damage in the clinch against the fence. So far, so good for Jackson McVey. But in all fairness, Bruno Ferreira is going to be his first real test. Bruno Ferreira, we know this guy is extremely powerful. He's the Brazilian Hulk. And honestly, I feel like the UFC is kind of disrespecting Bruno Ferreira for matching him up against a complete rookie. And I also think it would be disrespectful for gamblers and predictors to pick against Bruno Ferreira in this spot. So my prediction has to be Bruno Ferreira inside the distance. It could be a TKO. It could be a submission. Jackson McVey hasn't been past round 1 as a professional. So I'm going to take a round 2 stoppage for the Hulk, the Brazilian Hulk, Bruno Ferreira. Now Jackson McVey does have a big height advantage. But hey, the bigger they are, the harder they fall. Ask Taliesin Teixeira. So my prediction has to be Bruno Ferreira inside the distance. It could be a submission. It could be a TKO. And I'm going to say round 2. Next matchup, we've got Ryan Superman Spann. Or should I say Ryan Trashcan Spann. Ryan Spann is one of these fighters we call a glass cannon. He's one of these fighters that gets round 1 stoppages. He can get round 1 stoppages against anyone. But once the going gets tough, Ryan Spann gets going. He's dangerous early, but if you can extend the fight past round 1, you've got a really good chance at winning against Ryan Spann. Now here's the thing, Lukasz Brzeski, he's one of these opponents that Ryan Spann looks good against. Lukasz Brzeski makes Ryan Spann look like a Superman. You feel what I'm saying? So even if Ryan Spann wins this fight, it doesn't really change my opinion of Ryan Spann as a fighter. He's a glass cannon. He's a bottle job. He's really not that good. But I'm still going to pick Ryan Spann to win this fight. I'm still going to pick Ryan Spann round 1 stoppage. It could be a TKO. It could be a classic Ryan Spann guillotine choke. But guys, if we go past round 1, then still don't be shocked. You know, Lukasz Brzeski ain't that good, but if we go past round 1, the quitter of Ryan Spann still may show up, even against someone like Lukasz Brzeski. I'm going to pick Ryan Spann round 1. If we go past round 1, then it's going to get dicey, but I'm going to pick Ryan Spann early, round 1. Next matchup, we've got Jimmy Crute taking on Marcin Prachnio, and man, it feels like a sketchy matchup. It really does. We have to acknowledge that Jimmy Crute, he retired from the sport, and that's never a good sign. That's always a red flag. It's still Jimmy Crute though. A powerful puncher, a very tough fighter, a seasoned ground fighter with solid wrestling and dangerous jiu-jitsu. I do think he's a bit clumsy on the feet though, a bit reckless on the feet. He took a lot of damage in his last fight against Rodolfo Bellotto. And on the flip side, we've got Marcin Prachnio, who's a karate-style striker. And in all fairness, if the fight stays on the feet, Marcin Prachnio at over plus 200 is certainly a live underdog spot. But let's say Jimmy Crute is able to get Marcin Prachnio to the ground. If Jimmy Crute gets Prachnio to the ground, you're looking at a Jimmy Crute submission or even a Jimmy Crute ground and pound stoppage. Gun to the head. If you put the gun to the head, M16A4 with the red dot red tiger, original COD 4 from 2007, Activision Infinity Ward. If you know, you know. If you don't, you don't. M16A4 with the red dot red tiger. You point that to the head and we have to make a pick. Then I'm picking Jimmy Crute, bro. You know that. You know that. We're taking Jimmy Crute with the submission win or potentially the ground and pound stoppage. It's going to be a Jimmy Crute madness on the ground. That's the pick. Next matchup, we've got Islam Dulatov versus Adam Fugitt. Let's just be completely real. Let's be 100% honest with this matchup. If Islam Dulatov was to lose his UFC debut to Adam Fugitt, that would be absolutely diabolical. Diabolical. That's a double diabolical. Who remembers Mr. Kennedy from WWE back in the day? He used to double up those Kennedys. You know what I'm saying? Well, I've just done the same thing with the diabolicals. Kennedy style. Listen, man, Adam Fugitt, he's okay. He's pretty good, but Islam Dulatov, he's excellent. That's the difference here. For anyone who's not a hardcore MMA fan, let me give you an example in a different sport. Islam Dulatov, he's Cole Palmer. He's cold. Adam Fugitt's Harry Maguire. Islam Dulatov is SGA. Adam Fugitt's Dylan Brooks. Islam Dulatov's the OKC. Adam Fugitt's the Raptors. So guys, what I'm saying is, it's a round 1 stoppage for Islam Dulatov. If we go past round 1, then it's a round 2 stoppage. If we go past round 2, then it's a round 3 stoppage. If we go past round 3 to the scorecards, it's a dominant decision win for Islam Dulatov. What I'm saying is, Islam Dulatov wins however he wants. That's the pick. Ateba Gautier versus Robert Valentin. Now, I'm sure a lot of my viewers listen to other UFC channels, other prediction channels, other gambling channels. So you guys can let me know if you've heard anyone else say what I'm about to say. Guys, I think Ateba Gautier is just the next version of Francis Ngannou. He's just a new version of Francis Ngannou. Mini Francis Ngannou at 185. Francis Ngannou, he's from Cameroon. Gautier, he's from Cameroon. Francis is heavily muscled up. Gautier is heavily muscled up. Francis has one punch fight stopping power. Gautier has the same. Francis, his first loss was to wrestling and cardio problems. Gautier has already lost via wrestling and cardio problems. He's just a new version of Francis Ngannou. And I also think the UFC hates Robert Valentin. They hate this guy because when Robert Valentin loses, why is his next matchup a tougher matchup? You know, he lost to Finney Smith. Now he's getting Ateba Gautier. That makes no sense. I'm not going to pick against Ateba Gautier, aka Mini Francis Ngannou. It's going to be total annihilation, total obliteration, total dusteration of Adosa. I'm going to take Ateba round 1, maybe round 2. But yeah, that's my pick, man. Mini Francis Ngannou, Ateba Gautier. That's the pick. Next matchup, we've got Francisco Prado versus Nikolay Veretennikov. Now, Francisco Prado looks very undersized for welterweight, in my opinion. And Veretennikov, is the more natural welterweight. And there's also a 12-year age gap in this fight. Prado's 23, Veretennikov is 35. So already I'm thinking, if we've got a fight that's 1-1 after 10 minutes, I lean towards the aggressive Argentine, the younger Francisco Prado, to win those final 5 minutes. I also think Veretennikov, he's a little stiff on the feet. He's low output. He does throw nice teep kicks down the middle, but he doesn't really let his hands go. Now, Francisco Prado hasn't really done too well in the UFC so far. It kind of feels like if Francisco Prado loses against Veretennikov, he may be cut. And the same for Veretennikov. If Veretennikov was to lose this matchup, he may be cut. But I'm going to take Francisco Prado. I just think if it's 1-1 after 10 minutes, you're going to see that age gap. You're going to see that age advantage for Francisco Prado. And Francisco Prado, he's got nasty boxing, heavy boxing, beautiful body work, beautiful body kicks, and heavy hooks upstairs. So I'm going to take Francisco Prado, the young Argentine, to find a win. Next matchup, we've got Marvin Vettori taking on Brendan Allen, and we've got bad blood. We've got bad blood in this matchup. As most of you guys know, Marvin Vettori and Brendan Allen, they dislike each other. And anytime you've got a fight where two fighters dislike each other, you don't want to miss that fight. Usually the feeling out process when two fighters dislike each other is much shorter. Usually the fight starts much quicker than what it usually does. But I am pretty confident in saying that Brendan Allen, he's going to win this fight. I think Brendan All-In Allen gets it done. He's going to be the winner. I'm pretty confident with that call. And guys, don't get me wrong, Marvin Vettori, he's a very tough challenge for anyone. But I kind of compare him to Calvin Kattar. He's been in too many wars. He's taken too many punches. There's too much wear and tear on the side of Marvin Vettori. Now on the flip side, you've got Brendan Allen, who has lost 2 fights in a row. But this should be a bounce back win for Brendan All-In Allen. He's a phenomenal grappler, an excellent wrestler, and a fighter that's greatly improved his striking over the years. So guys, the prediction has to be Brendan All-In Allen to get a nice win this weekend in front of his own people in Louisiana against a very tough-nosed, gritty and determined Marvin Vettori. I just think he's taken too much damage, and Brendan Allen, he's so well-rounded. He can grapple, he can wrestle, he can kickbox, he can do it all, and I think he gets his hand raised against Marvin Vettori. So that's the pick. We've got Phillips taking on Vinicius Lockdog Oliveira. And I'm not going to lie, guys, I'm very torn on this fight. Initially, I was leaning towards Oliveira, but then I swayed towards Phillips. It's a very tough call, in all fairness. I think Phillips has a very unique style, super light on his feet. He spins a lot, but all those spinning techniques are very energy consuming. I think Oliveira is the better striker, or maybe not the better striker, but the more effective of the two strikers. He lands effective low kicks whenever he can, and Phillips will spin whenever he can. I do think the bigger octagon helps Phillips more than the Apex cage. Kyler lost as a massive favourite against Rob Font at the Apex, but if that fight took place in the bigger octagon, I kind of doubt that Rob Font breaks Phillips in the same way. Phillips has a footwork orientated style. He wants to control the range, utilise footwork. He's a very technical fighter, and the smaller cage doesn't really complement his style. It's clear that Phillips probably has the ground advantage in this fight. Although Oliveira's takedown defense recently, it looks very good. It didn't look good in his UFC debut, but I think clearly Oliveira's improving fight by fight. I'm very torn. I'm very torn on this fight. I think the bigger octagon clearly favours Phillips. You know, he got dusted by Rob Font at the Apex, but this is the bigger octagon. And I also feel that there's times where Oliveira can be quite readable, if that makes sense. And the extra space that Phillips has, it should help him to control this fight on the feet. And if he brings Oliveira to the canvas, there's an advantage there. His grappling advantage, his jiu-jitsu advantage, it should show in this fight. So I'm going to pick Phillips to win this fight, the slight underdog. But in terms of making bets, you're probably not going to see Phillips on my betting lineup. We've got Michael Johnson taking on Daniel Zellhuber. Guys, there's no way that Daniel Zellhuber is losing to old man Dusty Glassjaw Michael Johnson. It's not happening. It's not happening. Michael Johnson is the old school. He's the OG. He's the boxer. But Daniel Zellhuber's the rising Mexican. He's much fresher. He's got the kicking skill set. Whereas MJ, he's primarily a boxer. And guys, even if MJ's winning, even if he wins round 1 and he's doing well in round 2, he's so old and his chin's so bad, he's liable to go night-night at any given moment in this fight. Daniel Zellhuber might land a devastating head kick that sends Michael Johnson to a galaxy far, far away. And to be honest, I think Zellhuber does that. I think Daniel Zellhuber lands a head kick or lands something that stops old man Michael Johnson in this fight. So the prediction has to be the young rising Mexican, Daniel Zellhuber. We've got Dan 50k Ige versus Patricio Pitbull. Man, what a fight. What a matchup. Hey, you can feel we're getting close to the BMF fight now, eh? You can feel we're at the business end of the card. Dan Ige is extremely well-rounded. He's a technical puncher. He's a grappler. He's a wrestler. He's a veteran. He's a solid featherweight, is Dan 50k Ige. On the flip side, we've got Patricio Pitbull, who's definitely past his prime, but still good enough to compete against the top-ranked featherweights. And Dan Ige is certainly a top-ranked featherweight. Guys, I've got to throw in another underdog prediction, making this my second underdog pick on the card. I just think it's going to be a very close fight. Dan Ige is a much better matchup than Yair Rodriguez. It's a less technical fight, more of a dog fight. Dan Ige will stand in the middle of the octagon and throw down, whereas Yair Rodriguez, he's more about managing range, showcasing lightning fast kicks. He's very technical. Dan Ige is obviously a great boxer, but it's a very different style to what Pitbull fought in his UFC debut. So I'm going to throw in another underdog prediction on Pitbull. I think he can land some big punches in the exchanges. I also think Dan Ige is going to land some big punches in the exchanges. I feel a split decision with this fight. And if I'm thinking it's going to be split, I'm going to have to side with a fighter that's nearly plus 200. And that's Patricio Pitbull. Kevin Holland taking on Daniel Rodriguez. Hey, the homie home alone Kevin Holland, man. I'm very confident that Kevin Holland wins this fight. And inside the distance, he's going to get the stoppage against Daniel Rodriguez. And Daniel Rodriguez has sharp southpaw boxing, but his cardio is abysmal. His cardio is awful. Now, guys, I took Daniel Rodriguez as a slight underdog against Santiago Ponzinibbio, but that was a very winnable fight. This fight against Kevin Holland, it's not so winnable. It may appear winnable in round 1. It may look like a great underdog bet on Daniel Rodriguez in round 1, but I'm sure that Kevin Holland is going to start to break Daniel Rodriguez past that first round. Kevin Holland's going to land those kicks. He's going to land those long punches. He's going to potentially submit Daniel Rodriguez once Daniel Rodriguez starts to slow down and become tired in the fight. Daniel Rodriguez is now 38 years old. His footwork is horrible. His cardio is horrible. I know we can talk about Kevin Holland having horrible defensive wrestling, but can Daniel Rodriguez exploit that takedown defense of Kevin Holland? Absolutely not. Kevin Holland, in my opinion, gets a nice stoppage in either round 2 or round 3. I'm going to say it's a round 3 submission for the homie, Kevin Holland. Hey, the homie Kevin Holland on the rise again. Let's go with that. Let's go. The co-main event, we've got Roman Kopylov taking on Paulo Costa. Here's what I think. I think Paulo Costa is going to lose once again. I think Roman Kopylov is extremely sharp on the feet. His straight punches are thrown with pure precision and accuracy. I know Chris Curtis done really well and pushed him all the way, but that's a great fight to get you ready for someone like Paulo Costa. Obviously, Paulo Costa has the power to stop anyone, but I do think that Paulo Costa, he just doesn't take his career seriously. I need to see him win against someone who's good in a decent spot, and this is a big fight. It's the co-main event on a pay-per-view. I'm going to pick Roman Kopylov to get it done on the judges' scorecards. I see Paulo Costa doing okay at times in this fight, but I see Roman Kopylov being great at times in this fight. And that's the difference for me. Roman Kopylov is focused. He's locked in. Whereas Paulo Costa, he had an amazing start to his UFC career. We can't deny that. His first 5 fights, they were amazing. You know, his start to his UFC career, it was so good. But he just feels a bit different now. And not different in a good way, different in a bad way. So I'm going to pick Roman Kopylov to win this fight. And to be honest, there's a good chance I put Roman Kopylov on the betting lineup. Check the pinned comment below. My prediction has to be the Russian Roman Kopylov. The main event, the BMF title fight, Max Blessed Holloway versus Dustin the Diamond Poirier. I've gotten all of the BMF title fights correct so far. I got Masvidal around -250 against Nate Diaz. I got Gautier around +150 against Poirier. I got Holloway around +160 against Gautier. So I'd love to stay undefeated in BMF title fights. But if I'm being entirely honest, I do think this one is the most difficult to predict. And I'm not just saying that because I'm undefeated in BMF title fights. I genuinely believe this one is the toughest to predict. And here's the facts. Dustin Poirier is 2-0 against Max Holloway. He destroyed Max Holloway in Max's debut in the UFC. He won against Max Holloway when they fought at 155 for the interim 155 title. And I did pick Dustin Poirier as a +250 dog in that interim title fight. I think it's a very close main event we've got this weekend. It's a very close main event. And it does need to be said that Dustin Poirier's fighting his last fight in Louisiana. So anything remotely close could go to Dustin Poirier. Anything that's a split decision can go to Dustin Poirier. And even if the judges get the wrong call, at the end of the day, if the fight's close, Dustin Poirier bettors, they will defend the call. Anything that's close, it's going to be defended as not a robbery. Anything close, it will be justified and defended by the Dustin Poirier bettors. So that's the first thing I want to say. Hometown advantage goes to Dustin Poirier. Anything remotely close could see Max Holloway bettors thrown in the bin. I do believe Dustin Poirier is the better boxer though. If we're talking about hand placement, defensive guard, technical punching, combination punching in a technical way, power and explosiveness, yeah, I do believe Dustin Poirier is the better boxer. However, Max Holloway's fast. He's also fast. Max Holloway can throw punches in combinations, just like Dustin Poirier. Max Holloway also has a high output. He can match Dustin Poirier for the most part in a boxing contest. Dustin Poirier has the Philly shell, and that helps Dustin Poirier from absorbing damage. Max Holloway has the better feet though. He can circle around the octagon. That makes it difficult for Dustin Poirier to be in boxing range. So they both have their ways of staying defensively sound. Dustin Poirier covers up Philly shell. Max Holloway keeps to moving. Here's the thing though. There's going to be times, and when I say times, I mean like many times, where both of these fighters lock horns in the center of the octagon, and that's where rounds are won or lost. Guys, there's possible scenarios where Max Holloway has won most of the round. He's staying light on his feet. Dustin Poirier isn't able to find his boxing range. It's an uneventful round, but it's a round where Max Holloway's winning. But then Holloway decides, you know what? Let's get in the pocket. And in that exact moment, the left hook of Dustin Poirier, it connects. And there's combinations landing flush for Dustin Poirier. So in a round where Holloway won most of the round, he decides to lock horns with Poirier and actually loses the round because of that one exchange that didn't go his way in the pocket. And rounds like that are going to be very annoying to lose, especially if you bet on Max Holloway. If you bet on Dustin Poirier, winning rounds like that are going to feel really good because you lose like 3+ minutes of the round where Poirier can't get into boxing range. And then suddenly there's one exchange in the pocket that goes Poirier's way, and the whole arena make a lot of noise when that left hook lands in the pocket, and now you have a round win for Poirier on the scorecards. And that's why I mentioned rounds are won or lost when both of these fighters lock horns in the center of the octagon. I think Dustin Poirier proved he's a better boxer in their last fight. His punches just weighed so much more than Max Holloway's punches. To be honest, guys, I think Max Holloway has to utilise good footwork in this fight. Be smart about this fight. If it's too much like the last fight, I see Dustin Poirier winning for a third time. I hate to say it, but Max Holloway has to silence the arena, make the fight kind of boring, stay light on the feet, stay active with the footwork, make Dustin Poirier miss, make Dustin Poirier frustrated in his final fight. I think Max Holloway has to make it somewhat of a boring fight, which obviously the fans don't want to see that. We all want to see a rock'em sock'em robots type of war between two legends. But if you're betting on Max Holloway, I think you need the fight to be not so much rock'em sock'em robots, because that fight favours the sharper boxer, and that's Dustin Poirier. I think you're going to see an amazing main event. There's moments in this fight for Dustin Poirier. There's moments in this fight for Max Holloway. I think it's going to be 2-2 going into round 5. And at that point, Dustin Poirier has 5 minutes left in his UFC career. And Max Holloway has 5 minutes, not only to be the first man to defend the BMF title, but also 5 minutes to get revenge on a man that's already got 2 wins against him. Who knows what happens in those final 5 minutes? If I had to guess, if I had to predict those final 5 minutes when the score's 2-2, I'm going to say Max Holloway edges those final 5 minutes against Dustin Poirier in his retirement fight in Louisiana. The best is blessed. Give me Max Holloway. And I strongly believe this will be the first BMF fight that goes the full 25 minutes. And also, if Dustin Poirier loses this weekend, it will be the first time he's ever lost 2 in a row in his life, which is an amazing stat. But like I say, if it's 2-2 going into that final round, those final 5 minutes, the best is blessed. The prediction is Max Holloway. As always, my homies, drop down your main event prediction, your co-main event prediction, all your Money City comments, drop in the comment section below. And be sure to check the pinned comment for all my bets on this card. And check it again right before the card. Keep your eyes to the sky, never glued to your shoes. Let's go.